The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from 32 spacefaring civilizations had gathered for a historic moment, humanity's first official presentation to the Council. The chamber's high ceiling sparkled with floating lights that mimicked distant stars, while the curved walls displayed real-time images of various species' mighty warships. Admiral James Walker stood tall despite being nearly 2 heads shorter than most aliens in the room. His clean-cut gray hair and pressed blue uniform of the United Earth Fleet reflected his military precision. Behind him, a hologram displayed the pride of Earth's Navy, the UES Defender, their most advanced warship. The Council Speaker, Gray, towered over his podium. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the hologram. "This," he paused, mandibles twitching, "this is your flagship." "Yes, Speaker Gray. The Defender class represents the pinnacle of human engineering," Walker replied, his voice firm and proud. "She's equipped with our latest defensive and offensive capabilities." A low rumble filled the chamber. At first, Walker thought it might be the ventilation system. Then he realized the truth. The Council members were laughing. "Forgive us, Admiral," Gray said, not sounding sorry at all. "But your mighty vessel appears to be approximately 1/5 the size of our standard patrol ships. Are you certain this isn't a scout vessel, or perhaps a planetary defense boat?" Walker maintained his composure, though his jaw tightened slightly. "I assure you, Speaker, size isn't everything." "The Defender class." "Look at the weapons," interrupted a delegate from the back. "Their main cannon would barely scratch our cargo ship's paint." More laughter echoed through the chamber. On the walls, images of various Council species warships appeared next to the Defender. The size difference was stark. Most alien vessels could have carried the human ship in their cargo holds. "How adorable," purred Ambassador Lin, her scaled tail swishing in amusement. "They're like little space toys. Do they come with miniature crews as well?" Walker cleared his throat. "The Defender carries a crew of 250, Ambassador. Our ships are designed for efficiency and—" 250. Another burst of laughter. "Our maintenance crews are larger than that." The Council Speaker raised a hand for silence, though his own mandibles were twitching with barely contained mirth. "Admiral Walker, while we appreciate Earth's enthusiasm for joining the galactic community, perhaps you should focus on cargo transport for now. Leave the serious military matters to those with proper warships." Walker's steel-gray eyes scanned the room, memorizing each smirking face and mocking gesture. He had served in Earth's Navy for 30 years, commanded ships during the Mars Rebellion, and helped design the very vessels they now mocked. He knew their worth. "Speaker Gray, Council members," he said, his voice level but carrying an edge of steel, "I understand our ships may seem insufficient by your standards. However, I respectfully suggest you withhold judgment until you've seen them in action." "Action?" Gray chuckled. "What action could such tiny vessels possibly see? Will you be fighting space pirates with water pistols?" The chamber erupted in fresh laughter. Walker noticed even the junior assistants along the walls were struggling to maintain their professional composure. "Permission to withdraw, Speaker?" Walker asked, standing at perfect attention despite the circus around him. Yes, of course." Gray waved a massive hand dismissively. "Do come back when you've built some proper warships. Although," he added with a final chuckle, "perhaps you should start with building proper-sized construction facilities first." Walker turned and walked out of the chamber, his steps measured and dignified. He ignored the continuing laughter behind him, the pointing appendages, and the whispered jokes. In his pocket, his communication device vibrated with an urgent message from Earth Command, but he already knew what it would say. The pirate attacks along the outer rim were getting worse. The Council's mighty warships were too slow and cumbersome to catch the raiders. Soon, they would learn why humans built their ships the way they did. Soon, they would understand that efficiency trumped size, that maneuverability beat brute force, that innovation overcame tradition. But for now, Admiral Walker simply walked away, allowing them their laughter. After all, those who laugh last, laugh best. 3 months after the Council's mockery of Earth's fleet, things began to change. The first attack happened at a busy trade route near the Outer Rim. A massive cargo ship, carrying precious metals and advanced technology, vanished without a trace. The Council didn't worry much at first. Pirates were common, though usually easy to catch with their giant warships. But these pirates were different. In the Council's emergency meeting room, Speaker Gray stared at the holographic display showing another failed chase. His 4 eyes narrowed as he watched a recording of their newest warship, the Mountain-class destroyer, trying to pursue a group of pirate vessels through an asteroid field. How did they escape again? He demanded, slamming his massive fist on the table. Admiral Drake, commander of the Council's Third Fleet, stepped forward. The pirate ships are unusually fast. Speaker, our vessels can't match their speed or maneuverability. Impossible. Gray's mandibles clicked in frustration. Our ships are the most powerful in the galaxy. How can mere pirates outmaneuver us? They're using smaller ships, Drake explained, pointing to the blurry images, about 1/5 the size of our standard vessels. The room fell silent. Everyone remembered the human ships they had laughed at months ago. In the past week alone, Drake continued, we've lost 12 cargo shipments. 3 passenger liners have been attacked. The pirates strike fast and disappear faster. Our ships are too big to follow them through the asteroid fields they use as hiding spots. Ambassador Lin's tail twitched nervously. Perhaps we should request assistance from... No, Gray interrupted. We will not ask for help from a species that builds toy ships. The Council has maintained peace in this galaxy for 1,000 years. We will handle this ourselves. Just then, the holographic display flickered, showing an incoming transmission. A cargo ship was under attack. Help. This is Captain Reed of the Star Whale. Pirates are boarding our vessel. Our escort ships can't. Look out. The transmission showed several small, sleek ships darting between the cargo vessel's massive escort warships. The pirates' vessels moved like fish in water, easily avoiding the Council ship's powerful but slow weapons. Send the 4th Fleet, Gray ordered. They're 6 hours away at maximum speed, Drake replied grimly. They watched helplessly as the pirates disabled the cargo ship's engines. The escort vessels, each 20 times larger than the attackers, couldn't land a single hit on the nimble pirate ships. Send a message to all Council ships, Gray commanded. Double the escort teams on all major trade routes. With respect, Speaker, Drake said carefully, that will only slow our ships down more. We need something faster, more maneuverable. Something like... He hesitated. Do not say it, Gray warned. The display flickered again. Another distress call, this time from a passenger liner carrying thousands of civilians. In his office at Earth Fleet Command, Admiral Walker watched the same events unfold on his own screens. A message from the Council sat unopened on his desk. Not a request for help, but a notification that Earth ships were banned from Council space for their own safety. Walker smiled slightly as he read the reports from his intelligence team. The pirates were using ships remarkably similar in size to Earth's vessels. But while human ships were built for precision and defense, these pirate ships were crude copies focused only on speed. Admiral, his assistant called through the intercom. Another Council cargo ship just disappeared near the Outer Rim. They lost 3 escort vessels trying to chase the pirates. Walker nodded, remembering the laughter in the Council chamber. Pride had always been the downfall of empires, and the Council's pride was about to cost them dearly. Send our standard offer of assistance, he ordered. Again. Yes, sir. Should I include the usual specifications of our ships? No, Walker replied, watching another Council warship fail to catch a much smaller pirate vessel. I think they're about to learn those specifications for themselves. Sometimes the hard way is the only way to learn. In the darkness of space, more pirate ships gathered, knowing the massive council vessels couldn't touch them. They didn't realize they were about to meet ships their own size, ships that had perfected what they had only copied. The council would learn soon enough. Size wasn't everything in space warfare. Sometimes, the smallest ships cast the longest shadows. The council's emergency alarm blared for the first time in 50 years. Speaker Gray rushed into the command center, his 4 eyes wide with shock. The massive display screen showed a scene that no one had thought possible. New Haven, one of their largest and most important colonies, was under siege. "Report," Gray demanded, his voice echoing through the silent chamber. Admiral Drake stood before the tactical display, his usual confidence replaced by visible worry. "The pirates struck an hour ago. 30 small ships appeared from the asteroid belt surrounding New Haven. They disabled the colony's main defense systems and destroyed our orbital platforms." "Where are our defense fleets?" Gray's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. "That's the problem." Drake pointed to the dense asteroid field surrounding the colony. "Our large ships can't maneuver through the asteroids. We've already lost 2 destroyers trying to push through. The rocks are too densely packed for vessels our size." The display showed a massive council warship attempting to navigate the field. It moved painfully slow, trying to avoid collisions. Meanwhile, the smaller pirate ships darted between the rocks like they were dancing. "How many civilians?" Gray asked quietly. 20,000 colonists trapped on the surface. The pirates are demanding we empty our treasury for their safe return." A new alert flashed on the screen. 3 more council warships had arrived, only to stop helplessly at the edge of the asteroid field. Their massive weapons were useless if they couldn't get close enough to fire. "The colony's shield generators will fail in 6 hours, an officer reported. "Once they're down, the pirates can land and take hostages at will." Gray watched another rescue attempt fail as a council ship barely avoided crashing into a massive asteroid. "What about our smaller vessels?" "The patrol boats. Too lightly armed to challenge the pirates," Drake replied. "We need ships that are both small enough to maneuver through the asteroids and powerful enough to fight." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant, but no one dared say it. The silence was broken by an urgent message alert. The source: Earth Fleet Command. Gray stared at the blinking notification for a long moment. His mandibles twitched as he remembered how he had mocked the human ships, how he had laughed at their size, how he had dismissed them as toys. "Play the message," he ordered finally. Admiral Walker's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, professional, and unsurprised. "Speaker Gray, we've monitored the situation at New Haven. Earth's 10th Rapid Response Fleet is prepared to assist. We can have ships on site in 2 hours." "Your help is not needed," Gray started to say, but Walker continued. "Our vessels can navigate asteroid fields at full combat speed. We've already mapped the fastest approach routes to New Haven using our long-range scanners." On a side screen, footage played of human ships performing training maneuvers through an asteroid field much denser than New Haven's. The ships moved with incredible precision, weaving between rocks that would have crushed even the Council's smallest vessels. "Those are computer simulations," someone muttered. "Live footage," Walker corrected, having heard the comment. "From last week's exercises. Now you can either swallow your pride and let us help, or you can watch 20,000 colonists suffer because their ships were too big to save them." Gray's hands gripped the edge of his command console. He looked at the tactical display again. More pirate ships had arrived, bringing their number to 50. They knew the Council's massive warships couldn't reach them. A child's voice came through the colony's emergency channel. "When are the big ships coming to save us?" Gray closed his eyes. 50 years of military service had taught him many lessons, but this might be the hardest one to learn. "Admiral Walker," he said finally, each word seeming to physically pain him, "the Council accepts your offer of assistance." Walker nodded, no hint of triumph or mockery in his expression. "The 10th Fleet is already underway. Perhaps now would be a good time to discuss why humans build our ships the way we do." As the transmission ended, Gray turned to his staff. Send word to all council ships. When the human vessels arrive, they are to be given full tactical authority. The humans, someone asked in disbelief, but their ships are so. Their ships, Gray interrupted, watching another council vessel fail to navigate the asteroid field, are exactly what we need. Size, it seems, isn't everything. The council's command center fell silent as the first human ships appeared on their long-range scanners. Admiral Walker's voice came through clear and confident. 10th Rapid Response Fleet has arrived. 50 ships ready for action. The same number as the pirates, but that's where the similarities ended. Unlike the crude, rushed construction of the pirate vessels, the human ships moved with precision that made the council members lean forward in their seats. Impossible, whispered Admiral Drake as he watched the human fleet split into perfect formation while traveling at speeds his own ships could never achieve. They're moving through the asteroid field like it's empty space. On the main display, they watched the UES Defender, the same ship they had mocked months ago, lead the fleet. The human vessels were arranged in a beautiful 5-point star pattern, weaving between asteroids that would have crushed larger ships. How are they doing that? Speaker Gray demanded, his 4 eyes fixed on the screen. The answer came as they watched the human ships more closely. While council ships pushed asteroids aside with brute force shields, the human vessels simply flowed around them. Each movement was calculated, efficient, using the minimum energy needed. Getting visual feed from the colony, an officer announced. The screen split to show the view from New Haven's surface. The colonists had gathered at their observation domes, watching as 50 small ships, gleaming silver in the system's sunlight, descended through the asteroid field like a flock of metallic birds. Pirates are responding, Drake reported. They're moving to intercept. The pirate fleet rushed to meet the human ships, probably expecting an easy fight against vessels their own size. They had grown confident after weeks of outmaneuvering the massive council warships. That confidence lasted exactly 6 seconds. The human fleet suddenly split apart, each ship moving in a different direction, while maintaining perfect formation. The pirate ships tried to copy the maneuver and scattered in confusion. What are they doing? Gray asked, watching the human ships dance through space. Admiral Walker's voice came through again. Demonstrating why size isn't everything, Speaker Gray. Watch and learn. The UES Defender suddenly spun on its axis, revealing weapon ports that were far more advanced than anything shown in their original presentation to the Council. The other human ships followed suit, and the true genius of human engineering revealed itself. While Council ships carried a few massive weapons, the human vessels bristled with smaller, precisely targeted guns. As the pirates tried to regroup, they found themselves caught in a web of synchronized fire. Their targeting systems, Drake breathed in amazement. They're coordinating their shots between all 50 ships. Indeed, the human vessels were fighting as one unit. When a pirate ship dodged fire from one direction, it flew right into shots from another. The larger council ships could never have achieved such coordination. Look at their shields, an officer called out. The human ships' defensive systems were unlike anything the council had seen. Instead of the standard energy bubbles used by both council and pirate ships, human shields adapted and shifted, becoming stronger where needed and redirecting energy with incredible efficiency. A pirate vessel, desperate to score a hit, fired its main gun at the Defender. The human ship's shields caught the energy blast and, impossibly, redirected it into its own weapon's power supply. Energy recycling, Walker explained, a hint of pride in his voice. Why waste a perfectly good power source? The pirates, realizing they were outmatched, tried to retreat deeper into the asteroid field. It was a fatal mistake. The human ships pursued with ease, their smaller size now a devastating advantage. Those aren't just ships, Drake realized, watching the human fleet work. They're a new form of space warfare. Gray nodded slowly, his earlier mockery forgotten as he watched the human vessels demonstrate their true capabilities. Their size wasn't a weakness, it was carefully calculated. Every aspect of their design served a purpose. "Admiral Walker," Gray said formally, "I believe the Council owes humanity an apology." "Save it for later," Walker replied. "We've still got pirates to catch and a colony to save." Speaking of which, the UES Defender split off from the main fleet, heading straight for New Haven's surface. Its advanced shields easily repaired the colony's failing defensive systems, something the Council's larger ships could never have done at such close range. From the colony's observation dome, a small child pointed up at the human ships and asked, "Are these the toys they were talking about?" No one laughed this time. "Form Swarm Pattern Delta." Admiral Walker's command rang through space as the human fleet pursued the remaining pirate ships. The Council members watched in amazement as 30 human vessels broke off into smaller groups of 5, while 20 stayed to protect the colony. The pirates had lost 12 ships in the initial battle and were now desperately trying to escape through the densest part of the asteroid field. They thought their knowledge of the field would save them. They were wrong. "Impossible," muttered Speaker Gray, watching the tactical display. "Their ships are moving faster in the asteroids than in open space." He was right. The human vessels were using the asteroids themselves to gain speed, performing slingshot maneuvers that would have torn larger ships apart. Each bounce off a gravitational field sent them hurtling forward with increasing velocity. "That's why we build small," Walker explained over the command channel. "Mass is the enemy of maneuverability. Council ships waste energy pushing through space. We work with it." A pirate vessel, twice the size of the human ships but crude in design, tried to hide behind a massive asteroid. 3 human ships responded instantly. The first fired at the asteroid itself, causing it to spin. The second used the spinning rock as cover, while the third emerged from the other side, just as the pirate tried to escape. "Clean capture," reported Captain Stone from one of the human ships. "No damage to the vessel or crew. Ready for boarding." The Council's tactical officers were frantically taking notes. They had never seen such precision in space combat. Their own doctrine relied on overwhelming force. But here, skill was proving far more effective. "Watch Sector 7. Drake called out as 5 pirate ships tried to break through the asteroid field's upper quadrant. The human response was immediate. 10 small ships formed into an arrow formation, with the UES Defender at its tip. Instead of firing their weapons, they began a complex maneuver that looked more like a dance than a battle tactic. "What are they doing?" Gray wondered aloud. His answer came as the human ship's synchronized movement created a gravitational wave in their wake. The disturbance caught the asteroids around them, creating a chain reaction. Within seconds, the pirates found their escape route blocked by a field of spinning rocks. "Basic physics," Walker commented. "Every action has an equal and opposite reaction." Speaking of which, the trapped pirate ships turned to retreat, only to find another group of human vessels waiting behind them. They had used the asteroids as cover to sneak into position. "Surrender or be disbanded," Walker's voice boomed across all channels. "You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons." 4 of the 5 ships surrendered immediately. The 5th, a larger vessel presumably carrying the pirate leadership, made a desperate run for a narrow gap between 2 massive asteroids. What happened next left the Council observers speechless. 3 human ships moved in perfect synchronization, each firing precise shots that redirected the asteroid's rotation. The gap closed just enough to trap the pirate ship without destroying it. That, Drake said quietly, was impossible. The calculations required to move asteroids with such precision are quite simple, Walker finished, when your ships are designed to dance instead of crush. Within hours, the battle was effectively over. The pirate fleet that had terrorized the Council for months was captured or disbanded. Not a single civilian casualty was reported, and even the pirate crews were taken alive. Back at New Haven Colony, children pressed their faces against the observation windows, watching the human ships perform a victory lap around the settlement. The vessels moved in flowing formations, almost playful in their precision. Speaker Gray, Walker's voice carried a hint of amusement. Would you still call these toy ships? Gray's mandibles twitched in embarrassment. Admiral Walker, we were clearly wrong. Your ships are not toys. They are perhaps the most effective fighting vessels we've ever encountered. Size isn't everything. Walker repeated his favorite phrase. But speaking of size, would you like to know why we really build our ships this way? The council chamber fell silent, every alien present leaning forward to listen. Because, Walker said, as his fleet assembled for one final demonstration, sometimes the smallest opponent is the one you should fear most. And with that, the human ships began a maneuver that would change Council ship design forever. In the aftermath of the battle, the Council arranged a special session to learn about human ship design. The chamber that had once echoed with mockery now sat in respectful silence as Admiral Walker stood before them. You asked why we build small ships, Walker began, activating a holographic display. The answer is simple. We value life over intimidation. The hologram showed the internal layout of a human vessel compared to a council ship of similar combat rating. The difference was striking. Notice the escape pods, Walker pointed. On your ships, they're an afterthought. On ours, they're the starting point of the entire design. Admiral Drake leaned forward, his eyes widening. You design your warships around crew survival. Every human ship is built with one primary goal: bringing our people home alive. Walker switched the display to show footage from the recent battle. Smaller ships mean smaller crews. Smaller crews mean fewer lives at risk. But that's just the beginning. The hologram shifted to show the human ship's power systems. Unlike the massive centralized cores of council vessels, human ships used multiple smaller reactors. Your ships are built like fortresses, Walker explained. One big hit to the main reactor, and you lose everything. Our ships can take multiple direct hits and keep fighting. We can lose half our power systems and still get our crew home. Speaker Gray's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. But surely larger ships can carry more weapons, more shields. More isn't always better, Walker countered. He showed a simulation of a council destroyer firing its main cannon. Your big guns are impressive, but they take 30 seconds to recharge. In those 30 seconds, our ships can fire 200 precision shots. The display shifted to show human shield technology. Our shields aren't stronger than yours. They're smarter. They adapt, redirect energy, and work together. 10 small ships combining their shields are more effective than one large shield trying to cover the same area. And the maneuverability? Drake asked, remembering how the human ships had danced through the asteroid field. Walker smiled. Have you ever tried to turn a charging bull? That's what flying your ships is like. Our vessels are more like hawks. Quick, precise, adaptable. The hologram showed the human fleet's famous star formation. We don't build ships to fight alone. Every vessel in our fleet is designed to work as part of a whole. Like a wolf pack rather than a single bear. An engineer from the council's shipyards raised his hand. But the power requirements for such precise movements are actually lower than yours, Walker interrupted. Your ships brute force their way through space. We use space itself. Gravity assists, momentum, stellar winds. Why waste energy fighting physics when you can make it work for you? The display showed the energy efficiency ratings. The council members murmured in shock. Human ships used 1/10 the power of their vessels while achieving greater combat effectiveness. But the most important difference, Walker continued, is psychological. The hologram showed the battle from the pirates' perspective. Your massive ships are intimidating, yes, but they're also predictable. Everyone knows what a council warship can and can't do. Our ships. He paused as the display showed human vessels performing maneuvers that should have been impossible. Well, you saw for yourselves. The pirates never stood a chance, Drake realized. They built small ships to copy our weaknesses, not your strengths. Walker nodded. They thought size was our limitation. They didn't understand it was our advantage. The hologram showed one final comparison, a lineup of ships from smallest to largest. In nature, the largest creatures aren't always the most successful. The dinosaurs died out. Mammals survived. Evolution favors efficiency over size. Speaker Gray stood, his massive frame casting a shadow over the chamber. Admiral Walker, the Council owes humanity an apology. We mocked your ships, called them toys. He paused, mandibles twitching in embarrassment. We were wrong. Apology accepted, Walker replied graciously. But if you really want to make amends, I have a suggestion. Name it, Gray said immediately. Walker's eyes twinkled. Let us teach your engineers our design principles, not to copy our ships, but to help you build better ones. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. The same council that had laughed at human ships now clamored to learn their secrets. After all, Walker added with a slight smile, size isn't everything. It's what you do with it that counts. 6 months after the Battle of New Haven, the Galactic Council's main shipyard buzzed with activity. Above the massive construction docks, where giant council warships once took shape, a new kind of vessel was being built, one that combined the best of human and council engineering. Admiral Walker stood beside Speaker Gray, watching the construction through the observation window. The new ship was roughly half the size of a traditional council vessel, but incorporated multiple fusion cores and adaptive shield systems based on human designs. The first of many, Gray said proudly. We're calling it the Walker class, if you'll permit us to use your name. Walker smiled, remembering the laughter that had filled this same chamber months ago. Quite a change from toy ships, isn't it? The shipyard's chief engineer approached with a tablet showing the latest performance tests. The hybrid design is exceeding all expectations, she reported excitedly. Energy efficiency is up 300%, maneuverability has increased by 500%, and crew survival rating, she paused for effect, is now at 98%. The council has learned its lesson well. Gray's mandibles clicked in approval. Size isn't everything. Below them, in the shipyard's training area, human instructors worked with council crews, teaching them the art of precision flying. The newer council pilots had eagerly embraced human tactics, learning to use gravity and momentum rather than fighting against them. The pirates haven't launched a single successful raid since New Haven, Drake reported, joining them at the window. The council admiral now wore a small pin on his uniform, a gift from Earth's Fleet Academy, where he'd spent the last 3 months studying human battle tactics. They haven't dared, Gray agreed. Not since we began deploying mixed patrols of human and council ships. A flash of movement caught their attention. Through the shipyard's massive windows, they could see a training exercise in progress. 5 human ships and 5 smaller council vessels practiced the complex dance-like maneuvers that had proved so effective against the pirates. Your people learn quickly, Walker observed. Those council ships are moving almost as smoothly as ours now. We had good teachers, Drake replied. Though I still can't believe we once laughed at your designs. The observation deck fell silent as they watched the next generation of council ships taking shape. Each incorporated lessons learned from the humans, multiple redundant systems, efficient power distribution, and most importantly, a focus on crew survival over raw firepower. The Galactic University has requested permission to create a new course, Gray mentioned casually. They want to call it Human Engineering Principles. Apparently, half the engineering students in the galaxy want to learn how Earth designs its ships. Walker chuckled. Just remember, it's not about copying our designs. It's about understanding the principles behind them. Oh, we understand now, Drake said seriously. Bigger isn't better. Better is better. A young council cadet rushed up to them, stopping to catch his breath. Admirals, the first Walker-class ship just completed its asteroid field navigation test. The cadet's eyes shone with excitement. It matched human performance standards. The news brought smiles to everyone's faces, Even Gray's mandibles curved in their species version of a grin. "You know," Walker said thoughtfully, "someone once told me that those who laugh last, laugh best. But I think there's something even better than laughing last." "What's that?" Gray asked. "Learning from each other, growing together." Walker gestured to the mixed fleet of human and council ships performing their synchronized maneuvers. "Look at them. 6 months ago, this would have been impossible. Now it's becoming standard." The shipyard's announcement system crackled to life. "Attention all personnel. The first Walker-class vessel will begin full power tests in 10 minutes. All observers to their designated areas." As they watched the new ship power up its hybrid engines, Gray turned to Walker. "I've been meaning to ask, why didn't you hold a grudge? When we mocked your ships, when we dismissed your help, you could have let us fail." Walker's eyes reflected the glow of the engines below. "Because that's not what humans do. We don't succeed by making others fail. We succeed by showing others a better way." The new ship's engines hummed to life, its sleek design combining council durability with human efficiency. It was neither too big nor too small. It was exactly what it needed to be. "Sometimes," Walker said softly, watching the future of space travel take flight, "the smallest ships cast the longest shadows." And this time, nobody laughed.